Hello, Dijon here. In the TV and film portion of episode 131 of the Mustercast, we review the latest episodes of Alien Earth and Peacemaker Season 2 and discuss the announcement of a Superman 2 by James Gunn. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so moving on to TV and film. What have you been watching lately, Christian?
Southside again. Um, Made it to the final season of the show. Bit sad about that, but I'm probably definitely going to do a rewatch anyway. But yeah, still been watching Southside. In regards to stuff that I'm interested in watching, yeah, planning on seeing Highest to Lowest maybe sometime this weekend. And also, I want to watch the film that Highest to Lowest is based on, High and Low, one of these days as well, because I see that that's on Max or HBO Max. And I will say that's the one of the cool things about Max is that they do have a decent selection of international stuff. So,
Oh wow, it's a Kara
um,
Chris out
d-
film. I didn't know.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, I've
I
been
wanted
wanting
to
to check out some of his non-samurai stuff.
same, like uh, High and Low, Ikaru, like a lot of that stuff just really seemed interesting to me. So I want to clear like a nice few hour time slot where I can just sit down and just dig into the films. So yeah, that's what's on my watch list right now. And yeah, Southside, Justice for Southside, maybe a season four. And if not a season four, at least it's 3 seasons of very just cool television. It's just great comedy. But yeah, that's been all for me.
Yeah, for me, still watching Alien Earth. That's airing. There was a new episode last night as we're recording this, but I didn't get a chance to check it out because I decided for the rest of the night I wanted to finish up playing Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake of MGS3. Um, so I'm gonna watch that later today. But since last time we recorded, I think I've watched episode 4, and still great. Um, the initial alien threat was taken care of, and now we're in a slow build up to the gestation of another xenomorph as the show focuses on the characters for the most part. Um, the show stars a synthetic human that the mind of a dying child was placed into in an attempt to evolve the human race and create immortality, basically. And pretty much every alien movie has been about how rich people it's been about rich people messing with things that they don't understand in an attempt to make money and it blowing up in their face. So I'm expecting that happen again because one of the um, lead characters is a rich guy called the Boy Genius, who started a company called Prodigy, and he is the person behind this attempt at creating immortality. And it's kind of it's a essentially a technological race to who can invent immortality first. Um, and the this show takes place before the first um Alien, the first, not even just the first two. I think it is just the first two Alien movies, but after Prometheus. So, isn't an interesting place in the timeline of that franchise? And I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't know how many episodes it's going to be overall. I think it might be 6, and we're on episode 5. So, I guess this is the penultimate episode.
Okay. Wow.
I know it's going to be 8 episodes. Okay, that's good. So this isn't the penultimate
Okay.
episode. We're only a
Let's say
little,
it got
a little over halfway through.
yeah. Okay. Let's say it got the Yasuke treatment.
You know what I'm saying? Got
Yeah.
got more episodes than we usually get from shows like this. 8 episodes is kind of wild.
Yeah. Right.
We usually only get 6.
Yeah.
But I'm also watching Peacemaker season 2. We're on, what is it? I think first 2 episodes. I can't remember. But yeah, so far it's just as good as the first season and more really. They retconned the very end of the first season in a very interesting way. Um, because there was just some tie-in with some of the other DC movies that they wanted to change to make it fit within the current universe. And yeah, James Gunn has said that things are canon from the previous universe, whenever it is explicitly stated in a project. And I can't remember if he said it
Okay.
himself, but I know that for the most part, I believe the Blue Beetle movie is going to be canon, and that actor is, and I think pretty much all of those actors and characters are probably going to be moving forward into this universe as well. Because that movie was very isolated away from everything to begin with, so it's going to be very easy to bring that character over into this universe. And supposedly he might be in
Great.
the Teen Titans movie that's in the work with the being written by the same person who wrote the upcoming Supergirl movie. But yeah, Peacemaker is great. I believe you said you hadn't watched the first season, right?
Haven't watched the first season.
And I was gonna say
Hopes are good.
it's definitely one of the best comic book projects out there. I mean, it's James Gunn. He always does a good job with that.
In regards to how Superman 2025 plays into things, is of course Peacemaker was in there. Is is there any overlap for real, like in regards to canon, or is it just Peacemaker basically being Deadpool and just hopping from universe to universe?
So technically the first project in this universe was Creature Commandos, which is the animated show on HBO Max. And in a lot of
Okay.
ways, it was basically the Suicide Squad. Um, and it was a bunch of like monstrous villains, or not even, they weren't even really none of them. Well, I guess not none of them, but some of them aren't even villains. But this team was put together that was called, I think it was a Task Force Z or something like that, or it was a Task Force X, which is Suicide Squad. And Rick Flag Senior, the father of the Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad movies, was in that show, voiced by Frank Grillo. Um, yeah, Rick Flag Senior was voiced by Frank Grillo, and he played him in live action in Superman. And he's also in the show, and he makes reference to what happened in Superman. So Peacemaker takes place after Superman, and uh, Maxwell Lord, played by James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, as well as Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl show up in Peacemaker. So yeah, there's direct connections.
Got you.
But I definitely suggest checking it out. Um, it's Grisha.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested because I think Superman has me very interested in what this new universe will be. And also, I've just heard good things about Peacekeeper in general, or Peacemaker. I'm sorry, I said Peacekeeper. Peacemaker in general, and how kind of like a lot of James Gunn stuff, it surprisingly has heart out of nowhere. Like it definitely seems like one of those shows for sure. So I'll give it a watch.
Keeping on that train of the new DCU, James Gunn's Superman 2 is coming July 9th, 2027. So Gunn made a tweet saying, Man of Tomorrow in theaters July 9th, 2027, with art from comic book legend and DC Comics editor in chief Jim Lee, of Superman in his suit from the movie and Lex Luthor in his mech suit from the comics. And David Corn Sweat and Nicholas Holt also posted images on their various social media accounts with the same caption, but David Cornsweet had art from George Jimenez, who, in my opinion, is the best modern Superman artist, and Nicholas Holt posted art from Mitch Gerard, and yeah, both also are of Superman and Lex, and with Lex in his power suit, and it's great to finally have comics be respected by the people adapting them. Because Marvel could care less, and it shows. While DC is announcing movies with comic art and getting the writers from the comics involved with the movies and shows. And so that's just
Yeah.
fantastic to
Um,
see.
I, yeah, that is very cool. And yeah, it's really putting the art at the forefront. Um, someone made this point, or I think it might have been Patrick Willems, and he said that the for Marvel Comics, the comics are basically just an ideal farm for the movies now, or at least that's how Marvel Studios treats the comics. They just kind of treat it as a pool to just reach into. Um, But in regards to anything else other than that, yeah, it doesn't really give that much respect to the writers, especially in regards to just straight up taking concepts. Um, Even though it's not the movies, Spider-Man 2, the game, kind of had some controversy in regards to that with Venom and like some of the art concepts being taken from like a specific comic run done by a couple artists and they just kind of used it. And it wasn't a lot of like shedding a light on the people that created a lot of those concepts. So yeah, I think it's cool that not only they're announcing it, but they're announcing it with, you know, love and reverence for the writers and artists that are working on the characters. I think
And
that
something
alone is, yeah,
something else that this does, like, it's insane that we aren't seeing a boom in American comic book sales as a result of this, as a result of this, just the existence of these movies, because we see it with anime. People watch the anime, they go and read the manga. um that thing that, there's a balance there because they have respect for each other. Whereas, despite comic book movies having been one of the biggest things on the planet for a decade, that love wasn't sent back to the comics. And but James Gunn now actively talks about the comics he takes inspiration from for the movies, and then they make sets of comics that are related to the movie. Like with Superman, they released a set of comics bundled together that were some related to the movie, some not really, but just some of the like greatest hits of Superman. And that's dope. We're seeing them be like, hey, you like this movie?
yeah,
Go read the comic. And they started doing this around the time of Black Adam, as weird as that time period was for DC, where they, at the end of like a trailer, they would show, read these comics if you want to get to know this character. And they need to keep doing that. And Marvel needs to start doing that. They need to start going, hey, we have this app where you could just read the comics online if you just subscribe for a month. You can read every comic that has ever existed that we released, and you can really read the new ones that are ongoing. You'll be 3 months behind in terms of Marvel's app, whereas DC, you're only 1 month behind. And I think Marvel needs to change that. It's annoying, but yeah, it's just DC cares about the comics, the place where they're pulling these stories from, and it feels like Marvel couldn't care less.
like with Brand New Day, like this new Spider-Man film. I'm curious what comics they're even pulling from for it, or
It
like
was the Brand New Day
which
comic.
run. What is Brand New Day? Nick Spencer? I'm blanking.
But I think the main author was like Dan Slott
I'm wondering.
and Mark Guggenheim were
Okay,
the main ones.
and I'm wondering, like, is are they just using that in title like they did Civil War, or is it going to be an adaptation?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I doubt it. It'll be a direct adaptation.
Yeah,
Marvel just,
yeah,
they don't do. I mean, none of them do direct adaptations, but Marvel even less so. Um, and honestly, I think the
right.
name works for what they're doing for the story. I don't think it. I don't think because it has that name, it has to pull from that specific story. Um, it's just that the stories
Yeah,
that they do pull from, they should give credit where credit's due. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
in terms of the kind of like implications of the images we saw in regards to Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, it looks like Superman and Lex Luthor might be forced to work together in the next movie, perhaps against Brainiac in his first ever movie appearance.
Hmm.
It feels like that's the direction they're going. I think James Gunn, he's a comic nerd. He knows that Brainiac has not been on the big screen yet,
Yeah,
and he's probably like, if he's going to be on the big screen, that would be the best time. And if Lex and Superman are being forced to work together, against Brainiac makes the most sense, and it's happened in the comics before where they've been forced to work together specifically to combat Brainiac. So I imagine that is what's going to happen.
yeah,
Yeah, that's exciting.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is exciting and it's fast. I wasn't expecting a Superman 2 to be made this quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. When are we gonna get that
But
goddamn Wonder Woman movie and cartoon? He promised both, and he's yet to deliver on any bit of news. What's happening over there?
hmm, has has there been any rumor on casting or anything of the sort?
No,
Hmm.
they need to go on top of that. They have
Yeah.
one of her main villains casted. She showed up in Creature Commandos. Cersei, played by Anya, was it Charlotta? I think. She played Yennefer in the live action Witcher on Netflix. And yeah, she voiced her in Creature Commandos, and all the actors who voiced their characters in that are gonna reprise their roles whenever they show up in live action. There was a pretty star-studded cast in that movie, or show, and yeah, she's gonna be playing Cersei, and I'm excited to see that in live action. A villain, one of again, people know very little about Wonder Woman, and she is definitely one of those things where like she is essentially the Doc Ock to Wonder Woman Spider Man, where she is Cheetah is like Green Goblin, where like I think people would agree that that is the nemesis, the arch nemesis of Wonder Woman, the arch nemesis of Spider Man, but Doc Ock is a very close second, and you could argue he is perhaps maybe more of a nemesis of Spider Man than Green Goblin. It's the same way with Cersei and Cheetah. Cersei is just as much a nemesis to of Wonder Woman as Cheetah, but we haven't seen her in almost anything. She showed up in one cartoon, and the episode she showed up in was heavily focused on Batman in Justice League Unlimited, which was really weird. Um, so hopefully, I can only imagine she's going to probably be the main villain of the first proper Wonder Woman movie. But yeah, there's of course, a Wonder Woman movie going to happen, but also they announced like years and years ago when they first were announcing things that they were making a Paradise Lost show about the Amazons that is supposedly going to adapt Wonder Woman Historia, which earlier in this very episode, we wait, no, that was last episode. Last episode, we reviewed the final chapter of Wonder Woman Historia. This episode, we're reviewing, we're comparing Wonder Woman Historia to the very first issue of George Perez's Wonder Woman run, which also chronicles the origin of the Amazons back in the 80s, whereas Wonder Woman Historia was just before the pandemic. And comparing those two and how outdated the old one is and kind of sexist, despite how great that comic book is overall, it has some pitfalls due to, just the time it was written in. But yeah, I'm waiting for Wonder Woman. I'm waiting with bated breath. Give me something. Give me a cartoon. That's all I really want. I want a cartoon more than anything. Give me a Wonder Woman cartoon. She needs one. She's never had one. She needs one. I'll talk about it to the day I die. But that's all
I
I have.
understand
Go ahead.
because everyone else in the Trinity
Has
has
had
had one.
dozens,
Like, I
dozens
mean,
of projects.
dozens, multiple types, year after year after year.
Wonder Woman
Yet Wonder
had two
Woman
movies. One of them was
never.
bad. The other one, looking back on it, is okay as hell. Um, and she's never had a cartoon. She's only appeared in other people's cartoons. And she had a couple animated movies,
Yeah,
but those were directed DVD shit. Like, come on now.
right.
A cartoon is the
Yeah, I
least
feel
you
like she
could
does
do.
deserve more love. Right. Um, or even like a video game or
Oh,
something like that. Yeah,
they
there's
killed that.
not been that many representations. Oh yeah, they destroyed that with because Monolith was working on it, right?
Yep. And both Wonder Woman game
That
and
fool.
Monolith, they're gone. It's unfortunate. They need to get their
That
shit
is
together.
unfortunate.
WB's dropping the ball. Wonder
Yeah.
Woman.
Think I was about to turn it into the gaming section. I'm sorry.